Hi everyone, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Today we are hosting a live webinar on the topic of simplifying traceability to comply with confidence and achieve a lot of other goals as well. So let's get into it. So before we get started, one thing I wanted to mention was that this is actually a preview of a live session we're going to be hosting next month. So we're going to be exhibiting at Chem UK on May 21st and 22nd. And we're very excited to be there. But one thing we'll be doing there is hosting a live session on May 22nd on this exact topic. So if you've not already got your tickets, they're actually free. And you can sign up using that QR code there. It's in Birmingham. It's a massive event and we're really looking forward to it. But enough of that, let's dive into the webinar today. So we'll get started with some introductions. Greg, would you like to get started?
Yeah, thanks, Cara. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm Greg. I'm the lead consultant at Thinc. I help companies across all industries, including the chemical industry, to mature traceability and have a more connected system using SAP Business One and Project WMS from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. And how about you, Thomas?
Hi, thanks. I'm Thomas. I'm Solution Advisor at Boyum IT, and today I'm going to introduce one of our solutions, Project WMS, which is a warehouse management system seamlessly integrated with SAP Business One. It makes traceability, compliance, and efficiency a lot easier for companies in the chemical sector.
Love to see it. Thanks, Thomas. Looking forward to that as well. And last but not least, Danish, how about yourself?
Morning, everyone. I'm Danish. I'm the sustainability lead at the Chemical Business Association. So we represent over 160 companies all around the UK, Northern Ireland, Europe. A lot of what I do is with regards to compliance, application of sustainable practices. And today I'm just going to tie in on why we're talking about the system that we're going to be hearing about in a few moments.
Exactly that. That's going to be exciting because this webinar goes beyond compliance, and we will be touching on how does connected data also enable sustainability, how do you boost sales with connected data and achieve a lot more as well. So let's dive into it. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Greg, because what we want to do is start with a bit of a look at the chemical sector as a whole and get a view on that landscape.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Cara. So we're going to start with looking at the industry level chemical sector. So chemical businesses are facing several challenges at the moment, which have ramped up since the pandemic. Regulations like UK REACH are in flux, which are driving up admin costs for businesses. On top of that, energy prices haven't fallen. Demand hasn't risen so far this year, which makes efficiency and cost cutting a top priority for companies. Then sustainability has gone from a priority to a matter of urgency at the moment. It's not just climate concern, demand is shifting towards sustainability of produced products, lowering emissions and measuring sustainable actions is not straightforward. And Danish will cover this later.
Exactly that.
So all these pressures mean that the chemical industry, chemical businesses can't afford to make mistakes. Compliance needs to be a certainty, not a potential risk. No matter if you're making hazardous materials, hazardous materials are stored safely, and ensuring labels have the correct information. There's no room for error on there. So, for example, complying with UK REACH means you need to identify and register detailed information about the chemicals you handle, their properties, uses, storage conditions, and more. If you can't track that information in one place, compliance and deadlines can creep up on you. Quality control is another major challenge. We've all experienced recalls in the industry, but with demand low and customer trust is more important than ever from there. If something goes wrong, we need processes to be able to handle recalls efficiently and trace which products have gone out to which customers. Efficiency across compliance and quality comes down to how you manage traceability data. You can see on the slide just a few data points. If you need to track a complete audit trail from production to distribution, for a lot of manufacturing businesses I speak with, capturing this data points consistently and accurately isn't easy. A lot of the time, we'll track inbound data on a spreadsheet, warehouse zones in isolation in a WMS, and order fulfillment through a CRM system. So none of it's connected. Different parts of the business don't have visibility of everything. So when it comes to reporting from an audit or managing a recall, sometimes hours can be spent joining those dots, which is time really that businesses can't afford. From there.
Exactly.
So expanding on these challenges, we see a lot of businesses face. They tend to fall into 3 stages of maturity when it comes to traceability data. Businesses without connected ERP systems. Businesses without connected systems, and ERP being the main area. They tend to rely on spreadsheets to manage operational processes. There'll be spreadsheets for inventory, production KPIs, audit data. You might have some dedicated systems in place, but they don't talk to other areas of the business, such as a production management system that doesn't connect with your inventory data on there. Reporting is a process, and consolidating those spreadsheets can create a bigger picture, which is very prone to error. Then when a business moves to an ERP platform, they bring all the data into one format, one place. In short, an ERP platform is a business technology system that lets you manage inventory, finance, sales, purchasing, and other business processes all in one place. The main benefit here is efficiency. Instead of pulling data together from across spreadsheets, invoices, emails, and so on, you can act on information from one reliable source. It's not rare that a company to use an ERP system still rely on manual processes, still look back on those Excel spreadsheets. This normally happens when the ERP system isn't implemented correctly, and you're not using all of its features. So from there, the ideal stage for a manufacturing business is to have a connected system that will automatically talk to one another. Your sales orders are synced with your inventory management system, your inventory syncs with your production, and at any one time, anyone in your business can have clarity on performance, quality, and other key metrics.
That's the dream. Thanks, Greg. And yeah, thanks for that view as well. So I think putting it into, action is the main thing that we need to do here. So I'm going to hand over to Thomas now, because that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get a real view of what does connected data, connected traceability look like in practice for a business. So over to yourself, Thomas. I'll get started with the first live example here.
Great, thanks. So today I'm going to show you how connected traceability works in practice. Produmex WMS is the solution I'm sharing with you today. It works with SAP Business One to give you transparent and accurate data in real time. Starting with inbound goods, as you can see in the video, when you receive raw materials and goods, instead of writing down batch numbers, serial numbers, and expiry date in a spreadsheet and risking errors, with Produmex, you can capture every data point live using a mobile device. It's got built-in customizable rules, so your teams have guardrails to prevent incorrect data entry. It means no more risk of an incorrect number or date leading to quality control or compliance headache down the line. Produmex syncs data in real time with SAP Business One, so detailed stock information is visible in your ERP as soon as it arrives in your facility. If your supplier uses barcodes, then you can use Produmex to scan them and capture data even more quickly. In that example, I'm scanning one barcode that includes several information, the batch number, the best before date, the quantity. And so as a result, one scan and Produmex can parse every single information. Produmex WMS also mimics your warehouse structure, so you can optimize your warehouse space for both compliance and efficiency. You can designate storage zones based on chemical compatibility, such as temperature needs, stability, hazard classification, and predefine access roles to prevent unsafe storage or handling. You can allocate bin locations based on product movement speed and expiration date to ensure goods are never shipped after they expire. Then you can automatically flag expiring products to prioritize their dispatch. This means your teams can efficiently move goods to the right location in your warehouse every time. You can also ensure that during pick and pack operation, the right goods are collected in the right quantity at the right moment. The system enforces strict picking rules to match customer specification. exact expiry date, concentration, batch number, and so on. Then you can optimize timely delivery through delivery routes with automated compliance check. Incorrect orders, the wrong batch or expired product, they are flagged before they ever leave the warehouse. As a result, every movement of a chemical from receipt to storage to dispatch is automatically logged in your ERP. You've got a real-time digital audit trail of your goods, who handled them, where they've been, when they were moved and why, which you can produce instantly. With an ERP like SAP Business One, you can build custom reports to monitor compliance and spot any problems in real time. If you need to recall a contaminated batch, the system instantly shows you affected shipments and customers, so you can move as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Thomas. That's really cool. And it's great to see that in practice as well, because the most important thing here is how do you do this in real life, right? So I think just touching on how that works, let's look at how do you take connected data to the next level? How do you go beyond, achieving compliance, achieving quality within production and beyond, to growing the business, improving customer relationships, and achieving sustainability goals too? So over to yourself, Greg, on that one.
Yeah, sure. So most businesses in the chemical industry are moving towards ERP systems. There's an even better place though once you've got an ERP system that you can reach, where you've brought all your data together with platforms like SAP Business One and Project WMS. These platforms give you time. So instead of wrestling around with inaccurate data, chasing down updates, you can share information with customers, regulators, and suppliers at the click of a button. This means instead of spending hours trying to reach compliance or other distribution challenges, you can proactively focus on growth. And when new regulations or updates do come down the line, you've got a system that can produce the data, can capture the data that you'll need in real time. So the first stage of traceability maturity is using technology to make connected decisions. There are hundreds of areas to look at, but we'll focus on the three here that you see on the screen. So the first one, unlock working capital and boost order volumes. So the chemical distribution is extremely sensitive. You've got to ship on time with the right equipment and track every step of the way. These days, SMEs need to reduce costs wherever possible. So improving your distribution and logistic operations doesn't just help ensure compliance, it saves costs. Maximising warehouse space is critical to help keeping costs down. With Project WMS, aisles, bins and shelves are used to optimise based on product movement, speed, ownership, batch and shelf life. This means you're not spending money on unnecessary storage. Automating data across receiving, internal movement and order fulfillments ensures that goods are always in the right place at the right time. Eliminating manual data entry, reducing errors during the picking and packing process, which in turn boosts customer satisfaction and reduces refunds over time. Real-time inventory tracking puts an end to stock discrepancies. So every product movement is recorded instantly, and automatic cycle counts and replenishments prevent stock outs and overstockings and keeps operations running smoothly. While operating teams can cut down manual data errors from their workload, it leaves room to focus on sales. You can spend more time looking at ways that you want to boost order volumes. We see a few common scenarios where companies with reliable inventory data find it easy to restock for new sales opportunities. In the chemical sector, real-time data lets you make fast decisions and put stock to use instead of waste on that side of it. Also, connecting sales data with your inventory gives you an endless potential to build reports and highlight new opportunities. A good example is looking at products' historical sales and trends. If data shows a seasonal trend, you can dig into this further and up production capacity, or make a marketing campaign to capitalize on that seasonality. For businesses, this is easier said than done. It's only possible when you have a system that connects sales orders and inventory and production together. Thomas, what about the customer trust point that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so there's no room for losing your reputation right now. A major aspect of this is making sure you're always meeting quality standards. Inconsistent batch quality isn't just a compliance risk, it leads to waste, rework, and lost customers. Ensuring every batch meets strict quality standards is critical in the chemicals industry, and ERP technology is essential for achieving this. Across your inventory, you can plan inspection, build test steps, and define rules and quality targets through a standard technical framework while keeping record of every step. This way, you can track inspection results for any product and take fast corrective action during production. From that data, you can produce quality certification records to prove that you've got transparent and stringent processes in place.
Yeah, cheers, Thomas. Thanks for that. And the next one then is scale up sustainability. So regulations like plastic tax are becoming more stringent, but sustainability needs more proactive attention in the chemical sectors. It's difficult to make an impact sustainability changes on your processes without data you can trust and an ERP platform that gives you that. Even if your suppliers lack sustainability data, you can use an ERP to benchmark and prioritize your suppliers based on sustainability data you can track, like carbon impact of materials and logistic efficiency. An ERP helps you only order what's needed and improve production schedules to lower your energy use. For your inventory, real-time stock insights help you repurpose or redirect stock more efficiently to prevent waste. This reduces scope 3 emissions by optimizing transport and returns. I'll hand over to Danish now to take you a bit further on this point.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry, got there in the end. So yeah, now that we've seen how the system works and how connected data can be a benefit to you guys, and also the functionality of the system, which is honestly more than what I thought initially. So hats off to you guys. So having a data infrastructure or management like this is really critical right now, especially for SMEs. And I'll explain a little bit why. So we're in a period where regulation, especially, so Greg already mentioned plastic packaging tax, not just in the packaging space, but in the general climate-related reporting. So I put some examples of a few key milestones we've had over the years and coming up. So let's talk through these. CSRD, from this year, large companies across the EU report detailed sustainability data, and I mean actually detail. Similarly, EUDR, or the EU deforestation regulation. Now it's been pushed back to 30th of December, thankfully, but it requires proof that products like soy, palm oil, and leather, rubber are not linked to deforestation. And what this means is if you are within those supply chains or value chains, you will be impacted. And from our side at the CDA, we've seen various businesses being asked to report either providing information or providing emissions data, like was mentioned. But again, another one as well, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, the transitional phase ends this year. At the moment, a lot of importers will need to report embedded carbon data from materials like cement, aluminium, steel, fertilizers. But from next year, now that the transitional phase has gone, there needs to be more reliable primary data, hence why we're talking about the system today. And moving forward, we are expecting the UK to introduce their version and also an extension in the current scope to include other stuff as well. Another one that I think was mentioned, sorry if I missed it, was the packaging extended producer responsibility. I'm sure people on the call are familiar with this, is where UK businesses are required to report and pay on any packaging movement starting from 2024. So even if your company isn't directly regulated, your clients are. They will depend on you for trustworthy data, which is absolutely key. And moving forward, it's a no question. You have to be able to provide the data, and not only that, you need to be able to prove and justify the data that you're providing. So what that means is there could be lost contracts or risks in regulatory exposure to your clients or even yourself if you're not providing um, data that is accurate and also efficiently timely based on your customer needs. Next slide, please. So the previous slides were the current ongoing regulations, but we're expecting way more. So I'm going to go through some acronyms. I do apologize. So we've got PPWR coming out of the EU, which literally just got introduced 2 months ago, and is going through its implementation phases in the next couple of years. CSDDD, some of you might already be reporting to do with modern slavery. UK SRS, which is our version of CSRD, which is due to come out this year. Digital Product Passport, UK FRC, UK CBAM, the list goes on and on and on, and I can bore you with acronyms the whole day, but I won't do that. So these are all upcoming regulations in the UK and the EU that will impact your value chains. So if you are selling more globally, expect there to be more in the future. And why I say this, so there was a study that was made end of last year, sometime in last year. So worldwide, there's about 2,400 ESG type regulations. So that's not just the UK and EU, it's everywhere. In the last decade, we've published 155% more from in comparison to the decade before that. So 1,255 pieces of individual regulation came out in the last 2010 to 2020. Before that, it was only about 493. And moving forward, the idea is that sustainability or climate-related reporting will be 3 times the amount of data and resources needed. It's about 3 times more than financial reporting. So you could imagine the size of what you have to deal with, not just as a large business, but especially for SMEs. The need for reliable data is increasingly non-negotiable. And what I mean by that is that regulators expect a digital audit trail. If you're supplying data to, for example, a CSRD reporting company, you have to be able to track that up the value chain and justify your answers. Similarly, EUDR, it needs to be traceable to the source. You need to prove that the materials you use don't come from deforested land, which means not just knowing your suppliers, but having an appreciation of your whole value chain, which is, honestly, I'm sure some of you have undertaken this, but it is a big ask. And also, it needs to be easy to access and interpreted when needed. So, like we've seen, warehouse data, sales data, just that in itself is so much information. So there is a need to be able to access it when you need it. So I'll give an example of some of our members. So I've helped them with EPR reporting. 2 people, family-owned business, took them over 2 weeks of day-to-day time trying to collect that data. But in the end, they didn't actually, well, they did report a lot, but in comparison to a bigger player, it's not that much, but they're spending way more time. So having easy to access and interpret when needed is really critical. Because, and also using it through a system, like Thomas was mentioning before, the risk of human error or error in general is reduced massively. And also the risk of having sloppy data is not great. It can lead to massive fines, lost tenders, and also reputation damage. And hopefully everyone is aware that environmental fines or environmental claim fines or similarly, there's no cap on it at the moment. It used to be capped, but now the view is you pay based on your turnover and what you do. So why does it matter so much, and why are we continuously speaking and shouting about this? It's because having accurate data and complete data gives you credibility. You want your customers to believe and trust the information that you're telling them. Also, having a system in place gets you audit ready. I listed quite a few regulations, but honestly, we could spend some time and look at all the regulations that are out now. So climate change adaptation is one I didn't even speak about. But again, it helps you in audit processes because I know for a fact regulators in the UK putting their foot down as well. They want to check this year and they're going through the motions of who should they be checking first. And the last thing you want is when the regulators come, ask you for a certain piece of information and you can't provide it, or you're scrambling to find it, then that it's not a great look, but also just to save you a little bit of time. And last and definitely not least, reliable data isn't just for compliance, right? It also helps you identify inefficiencies. So, like Greg mentioned earlier, it can help you make better decisions to especially cut emissions, for example, by identifying where your key or your big contributors are. And also, it helps you stand out in the marketplace because I can assure you, there are big players in the industry that are already taking this on. But for SMEs, it's still a lot of SMEs are still at the start. So good news is you don't have to do all the data collection manually. The software you've just seen is designed to help you organize, validate, and report. But again, it's a matter of working with the team to really understand what you guys need. So to wrap up my section, the sustainability data you collect today could define your future contracts. It is a license to operate moving forward, and it also improves your credibility. So I would say invest in a system earlier because you'll be scrambling and it will probably cost a bit more if you leave it to its on a later date.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Danish. And yeah, what an eye opener that is in terms of how serious and how important reliable data can be to your business. But over to the audience now. So I think we've already seen a couple of questions come through, but if you've not spotted already, there is a Q&A box at the bottom right of your screen. Unless you're on mobile, then it should be at the bottom. So feel free now to take a minute to just post any questions that you do have about the topic today, and we'll do our best to answer them. So while we're waiting for some more to come through, I think one that comes up a lot for us, to be honest, is around just the process of moving to an ERP in the first place, which is, it's no mean feat. So I'll probably direct this one to you, Greg, to be honest. In a typical scenario, what does it look like for a business, let's take a chemical business, for instance, an SME, to move to an ERP when they've not previously had that technology in place?
Yeah, I'd probably say as an expectation, the minimum time it would take to deliver a project like a brand new ERP system would be 6 months, but usually it's more around the 9-10 month mark. A lot of that is also down to how much time you can put into it, though. So, for example, when you move to an ERP system, you don't want to put rubbish data in there. You've got to spend time cleansing that data, making sure that it's all accurate before it goes into the new ERP system. So, for example, Thomas mentioned about warehouse setups and segregations that you can build in. You've got to have the data in there to be able to set that up. So a lot of the time is spent more around, I would say, preparation and testing the system.
That makes sense.
Which is why it usually takes longer.
Getting it right the first time, that's what you want, isn't it? No, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, if you started now, could potentially be ready by the end of the year, which is always good to hear. So we had another question posted in the chat. I've just got that on another screen here. So is this control and logistics management system all within a single instance? If so, what platform? And is it in an infinite database? Wow. So I guess we're saying there is what you presented earlier, Thomas, is that connected to your ERP and your other systems? And, how does that typically look? Probably hand that to you, Thomas.
Yep. So the answer is yes. Basically, SAP and Promex are using the same instance, using the same database. And so there is no two solution connected with interface. It's only one solution at the end of the day. And in terms of platform, Greg, maybe you want to take it over?
Yeah, so in terms of platforms, so SAP and Boyum Project WS runs on a SQL database, and SAP also has a HANA database, which is a Linux platform as well. So we can offer both options. It can run as an on-premise solution, or it can be a hosted solution as well, from that side of it. And in terms of infinite database, I've not seen any data restrictions in terms of size.
That's always good.
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. Flexibility is key. That's great. One other one as well would be just around, we've talked a lot about data here, collecting it, cleansing it, making sure it's accurate. But in terms of reporting, in terms of visualizing that information, with an ERP, how can you almost bring that to your business in a visual format? Are there tools that you can use within the ERP or outside the ERP to do that?
Yeah, so Business One, with it being if we take the SQL database as an example, so it can connect to tools like Power BI for reporting. As Business One now is in a transition, it's moving towards a more web client interface. You can actually build your own analytics on the fly inside the web client as well. And again, because it's all, like Thomas mentioned, the Progemex data is all inside the same database as Business One. That kind of information will all be visible with you within there. Business One has its own query writer as well. So it kind of depends really on the business's internal knowledge, but if they have some knowledge of how to write SQL reports, it can all be done internally, or again, we can advise on that as well. And Boyum as well does have a dashboard tool built in as well. So these can be web dashboards, which you can publish, or it can be inside the client.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. Yeah. And I guess that's in terms of just, keeping the business up to date on metrics as they're coming in, as they're updating in real time. You can do all of that in one place. So that's a winner. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I think that's us for questions. So I think we'll start to wrap up here at this point. I think we're at 11:30 now. So that's a good time for it. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, it's been a pleasure to host this session, and hopefully you found it useful. Wanted to leave you with a bit of a next step in a sense. Obviously, moving to new technology systems is no small task. So what we recommend is just starting by assessing your challenges really and prioritizing them. So when you look at compliance, Danish, Greg, we've all spoke about a lot of regulatory requirements upon the sector right now, and it's only going to increase. So looking at that, assess really where are your biggest bottlenecks in terms of compliance reporting right now? What does that look like? And where is data letting you down, essentially? Is there an element of human error coming in there? Is it just too slow? Or is it unreliable for another reason? So understanding what takes up most of your time, what information you're constantly correcting, you're sense checking, you're constantly updating, it can help you establish where to move next when it comes to technology. And then you can evaluate a solution, like a SAP Business One, like Progemex WMS, to address those challenges. So that would be the step one for us. But if you do want to learn more, of course, we're always here, and feel free to reach out to any of us here after the session. What we'll do after this, we'll get the recording sent over to you, so you can feel free to share that out or give it a watch back. And as we mentioned at the start of the call, this is a preview of our live session, which will be taking place next month. We'll be at Chem UK May 21st to May 22nd. Really excited to be there. So like we said, if you haven't already signed up, the tickets are free. And it's going to be a fantastic event. So hope to see you there. But we'll call it there, guys. So thank you so much for the time, and hopefully see you next time. Take care. And
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.